Hello, dear friends. It's your friend William Sovik here once more. And welcome to the 10th episode of the Grand Final Oddcast. And to celebrate our 10th episode, I thought that I would put together the intro that you just saw. The jingle and a little video clip. Because you gotta have an intro, right? When you're a pro content creator, or more accurately, a lower mid-tier professional jazz drummer who with hubris on the internet. Anyways, I thought that I would do one of those commentary track things that I did when we released our or I've done it, I think, to our hello camera. I'm here. My camera has had a couple of bad days in regards to its focusing abilities. Maybe it's time to do some breathing exercises there, bud. Anyways, yes, the records that we've made previously, I have made sort of a commentary track to the whole album. You know, when you used to buy DVDs, you would often get in like the extra material, you would get this director's commentary track where they would just talk over the whole movie and explain maybe some of the shots and I don't know, the theory behind certain scenes and stuff like that. And I always thought that was such a weird and fun thing to do, because it really sort of makes it impossible to really enjoy the movie when you have someone talking over it, and maybe even more so if you do it to a music recording, because if someone is talking over music recording, you won't really be able to hear the music, which I think is fun. So I thought I'd do one of those for this album as well. I would have loved to have my whole band here, but it's again, it's proven difficult to get us all together in a room at the same time. Not that I've even tried for this specific thing, because I just felt that I didn't want to deal with that fuss. So I'll just do it myself this time. I hope it's okay. But I let's start the album here from the beginning, and I'll just ramble on top. So hold on to your hats. This is gonna be a long one. All right, here we go. Concert. What a grand opening. Sort of like a fanfare, kind of. Seems like I tend to write music that sounds sort of like fanfares. And I think a reason for that is that I'm super into like marching band and brass band music. I've always loved that kind of music. My dad is a trombone and tuba player, and he played professionally until, I don't know, like 15 years ago or something like that. So I was always very much influenced by that kind of music. And this part of this song, I think I was trying to write some sort of something that felt a bit like Deerhoof, maybe. The band Deerhoof, if you've heard them, incredible band. That were actually in Gothenburg recently, I just learned, and I missed it completely. I would have loved to see them, but I didn't know they were here. And from Deerhoof, we transition into this part, which is, I don't know, just generic contemporary loose jazz, perhaps. And Malin Wettering. on the tenor sax. So it's such a nice solo, and Victor is playing incredibly well as well on the bass. Of course, he always does. I love this type of playing too, like this sort of rubato. I love playing the drums without keeping like a rational time or a rational pulse. And I've always thought that I'm quite good at it too. It's like one of the things that if someone would ask me like, what are your strengths as a drummer, I'm not the best at like playing, I don't know, keeping time or grooving or playing like a steady jazz beat or whatever. But I think that I'm quite good at playing that sort of loose rubato type, textures. I've always been super into that, or not always, but for the past, I don't know, 15 years. And then back into the main theme, of course, as you do. That's usually how my songs go. And I guess most jazz tunes, really. Theme, solos, theme. Well, this is not really, I mean, this is something else, I guess. This is just that sort of generic Scandinavian jazz feel that we heard before the sax solo, but played in a no, it's not that part. It's the Deerhoof part, actually, the Deerhoof part of the song, but it's played in a generic Nordic contemporary jazz feel. And there's some delays happening, and there's some EQ stuff on here. I think it's the Soundtoys crystallizer hard at work here, and it's hard at work at some a few different places on this record. Actually, I love that plugin. It's like a weird delay. I actually don't know really what it does, but it's sort of a delay that's cool, I guess. Okay, that's that song, Concert, the first one. Let's go to the next one, Bad. I think this is one of my favorites from the album, actually. Or I think maybe it is my favorite from the album. It's quite strange, but I like it, and the solos turn out really cool as well. If you listen to the tenor part that Malin is playing here, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's super, it sounds really corny. But I think it works in like in the whole thing. And here's some generic rhythmic stuff happening. It's really not that complicated. It's like 16th note groups. Or 5 groups of 16 notes played over like a 4/4 thing. So it's not that complicated. Joel Fabiansson on the guitar, of course. I'm really not that much for metric stuff, actually, like playing incredibly complicated metric music, uh, which otherwise feels like it's such sort of a drummer thing to be into. And like playing odd meters and stuff like that, I'm not super. I don't know. I was really into it when I was younger, I guess. But for the past, I don't know, 10 years or so, I've not really been that into playing odd meters. Not for the sake of playing odd meters, at least. I might use some odd meters here and there, but it's always for like musical effects. I would never write like a whole song in like 7 or something now. Not that I don't like music that's in 7, I just feel like I'm not very good at playing in odd meters and doing all these metric things. I don't feel like I sound very good when I do that. Even though it can be fun sometimes to sort of experiment, but I'd rather play in 4/4 or I'd rather play in no time at all, I suppose. Rubato is my jam, as I said. But sometimes it can be fun with the metric stuff, but it's not my strength for sure. Signe Dahlgren on the tenor sax, of course. There's actually some percussion in the background too. I'm playing like a shaker and what's it called, like a kachichi or something, you know, those baskets that you're like, and then some castanets, I think, as well. Yeah, this solo turned out great. I love that it's just like, it's just building, it doesn't really stop. It has sort of a relentless quality to it, which I really like. I love this type of playing. Like sort of in time, but sort of not in time, but it's like with a sense of like groove and direction, but it's still sort of all over the place. You can like make up your downbeats as you go. And thankfully, Victor Reuter and I have been playing together for such a long time. Victor, who's the bass player, that we just seem to hit like we just seem to have the same downbeats now. Even if we don't like play in a rational meter or a specific thing, it's just like we seem to hit like the same ones, which is very practical. Yeah. Yeah, that one turned out really well. I really like that one. So let's go to the next one. Korthuset. This is probably one of the older songs on this album. I think this is the one that we've played the most live, probably. It's been with us for a while, but we haven't recorded it before. And I wrote this, I think it was during the pandemic, and I remember being home watching just a ton of House of Cards, that series, the TV series, House of Cards. I just recently rewatched it actually, and it's a great series. Yeah, but I was watching a ton of House of Cards, and Korthuset means House of Cards in Swedish. Quiet little melodic part here. There are quite often parts like this in songs that I write, I think. Just because I really enjoy this kind of playing as well. That's like really quiet and really simple. And if you manage to do this kind of thing with sort of conviction, I feel like it will speak so loudly. And of course provide a nice contrast to like the other stuff that's more yeah, it's different. Signe again on the tenor sax here. Yeah, I love hearing her play stuff like this, because she's mainly maybe not known. I mean, I feel like her sort of main thing that she does is mostly like completely improvised music and free jazz and that kind of thing, and she does that really, really well. But I love the way that she's playing over changes, and like her melodic language is just super nice. Another classic trick of playing the head once more, but in time instead of in rubato. Into another sax solo by Malin. The changes here are just the changes from the head really, but they're stretched out a little bit. Which is why they sort of, I don't know, they sound sort of cohesive with the rest of the song because it's the same thing, but it's sort of slick too. I remember Joel and Victor helped me out, helped me figure this solo, the changes. They helped me to figure out that. It becomes really evident here also with like the difference in sound of Malin and Signe. They have completely different sounds, but they play so incredibly well together, I feel. But it's so cool hearing them like play a solo each in the same song, because it becomes very evident that they're very different players. But I love both of them. Their playing is incredible. And back to the head, of course. It's the only way I know, I know how to write music. This is also sort of fanfare in its abilities, this song. I can't escape it, that's the thing. All right, that was Korthuset. Now let's move on to Järnet. Also one of my favorites from this album, actually, Järnet. Wonderful intro here, of course. by Joel and Victor. I think this is the longest tune on the record too, I think. Oh, it's actually not. It's... The next one is the longest one, but this is 8 minutes and 10 seconds. It's quite a long song. I think it has 3 solos in it. And it's really such a musical journey, this tune. It starts out really soft and nice, and then ends up in like a really messy guitar solo. I wrote this song on, or I write a lot of my music on guitar. I'm much more a guitar player than I am a piano player. But I can always hear when I've written music on a guitar as opposed to when I've written it on a piano, for example. This feels very much like a guitar song. And if you would look at like the sheet music for the guitar part, it's very much like stuff that's sort of easy to play on a guitar. Bass solo, of course. Let's crank it up since it's a bass solo. Good job, Victor. Into a sax solo again by Malin. I often sort of forget about the bass as being a solo instrument. As do I with the drums, really. I usually put like one little drum solo on each album because I feel like I should. Having said that, I don't necessarily like love playing drum solos. I think it's much more fun playing with other people. And it also sort of masks your inability to play your instrument. If you're playing with other people, they can sort of cover up like some of the musical real estate. I like this vibe. It's sort of a... Yeah, it's just motoring on here. I didn't want this to be like too complex rhythmically or harmonically or anything. It just feels like it's some nice chords and a fairly steady beat. I also love the way that the sax sound turned out on this album. Or I love the way that all of the stuff sounds. Guitar solo. Now it's rubato time. Finally. I can relax. No, but I love the way everything sounds. It sort of has this roomy quality to it, but it still has like a lot of punch. And the saxophones, especially, I feel like that's always like the hardest part. I think when making records, because it's dawned on me since starting this band that I don't really know how a saxophone sounds. And still, I feel like I can't mix saxophones because I don't know. Like, whenever I have to mix saxophones, I try to do as little as possible to it. At least when it comes to like EQ and stuff, because that feels so personal to every player. And there's so much of the personality that's in the sound, and if you just tweak like a little thing on the EQ, it can change the feel of the sound completely. So I don't want to do that anymore. I usually just slap a bunch of compression on there and call it a day. I also love that it's like so dry, and I think that goes for a lot of stuff, or most of our music is like there's very little to no reverb on it, unless it's for effect. There is some of that reverb on this album, but it's always for like musical effect. Not that much just like a general sort of reverb thing. I don't really like that, especially on the saxes. I like when they're super dry, and that goes for the drums as well. Yeah, you will solo here is also incredible. And then there's always the question of trying to figure out how you should transition back into the head again after doing something like this. That was the way that we did it. Just start over. It's the main theme again, but it's now in rubato instead of in time. It's the poor man's arranging techniques. And then you play half ahead, and then you end, and then you stop. It's also a classic, classic ending. Hello, camera. Okay, let's move on. Cool for School. This is the longest song on the record. And this takes a lot of weird turns, this one. I have spoken about during concerts. I've said that this song is sort of a tribute to my son, who is like all over the place at the moment. He's 2.5 years old, and he's just bouncing off the walls. You know, 1 minute he's just insane, and the next minute he just passes out on the floor. And I think that I've said on during concerts that this is sort of my attempt at articulating that in music. But as I've also said, I think that's sort of an after something that I've constructed afterwards. I think I just wrote this song. I had a bunch of different pieces of music that I like the sound of, that I managed to sort of smush together. But this theme is really fun to play though. Here comes the Latin part. in 7, I think. And then there's some jazz. And then we're going into some jazz solos here. Marlin is beginning, of course. I'm so not used to hearing myself playing like this kind of feel anymore. I don't do it very often these days. I play more sort of jazz type stuff. But I do think it's really fun. Once again, thank God for Victor Reuter and his steady beat. I would be lost without him. Woo! Yeah. Oh yeah, there's like a really feels like such a sort of Pharoah Sanders, John Coltrane-y conclusion to Marlin's solo there. I love it. Sing again, you can hear the difference in the sound. Sort of takes on a bit of a different sort of vibe here in singing the solo. I've always been a huge fan of Chris Speed. He's one of my favorite saxophone players. And I've always felt that Signe and Chris Speed they have similar sounds, sort of. And a similar way of playing as well, I feel. Even though it's, I mean, they're obviously very different, but somehow they remind me of each other. Another classic arrangement technique from the William Solvik arranging tool chest. Letting it fall apart in order to be able to transition into something else. And here comes a drum solo as well. The only one on the record, thankfully. We did a bunch of takes on this song, or not a bunch, I think we did 3 takes on this song. And I remember the drum solos being very different. This is certainly the most frantic one, I think. I think you can hear that I'm sort of frustrated at this point. Back to the first head, of course. Another classic trick from the William Solvik Arrangers Tool kit. Playing the melody with some drumming in between the phrases. Oh yeah. Well, that's a journey as well. Let's go to something completely different. Chills. The the jazz the jazz ballad. I think this is the only song that we've recorded that I play the brushes on. Which is weird because I love playing the brushes, but I don't know. I just don't seem to do it with this band. This tune is quite old as well. This is sort of a Love Supreme groove on the drums, but in 3, obviously. I actually had there's this legendary, incredible Swedish piano player and composer named Monica Dominic, who is, yeah, I'm just a huge fan of her work, and I had the great fortune to have her sort of write a composition around a sketch of this particular tune that turned out completely different than this one. That we did for a project with a band called Lighthouse that Malin is part of, together with the great Swedish drummer and composer and arranger Peter Danemo. So they invited a bunch of people to write, like finish other composers' sketches. And then I had the honor of having Monica finishing my sketch of this song. And it turned out like this beautiful, like jazz ballad that she called William as well, which was very sweet. But I like this version too, so I wanted to put it on the album. Again, I love Signe playing over changes like this. I also wanted this song to be sort of like a sausage, if you will. I often say that. In Swedish at least. Ja, men det kan vara som en korv liksom. And by that I mean like sausage when you look at like the waveform, it's just like one sort of like a sausage. It doesn't, there's not a lot of stuff happening sort of dynamically. It's not like super loud and then super quiet and then loud and stuff. It's just like this one sort of uh, piece of music that doesn't really necessarily go anywhere. But I love that. I feel like there's so much music that's just constantly sort of heading somewhere else. But I love being able to just like sit in one vibe for a really long time and then just try to have like the courage and the patience to just stay there and don't go anywhere else. And that's sort of what this song is as well. Like nothing crazy, like it's just some nice changes and some people playing some nice melodies on top. This has sort of a summer vibe to it as well, I feel. I think I actually thought of a Love Supreme, weirdly enough, when I wrote this. It doesn't sound anything like a Love Supreme. But the drum groove is similar to what Elvin plays in the beginning of Love Supreme, but he's playing in 4, obviously. And the bass line too, now when I think of it, boop, 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 boop. It's sort of like a Love Supreme in 3, I guess. And in, major. Alright, the next song, I Will Follow You. Originally titled I Will Follow You Into the Dark. But it was too long to fit on the album cover, so I just named it I Will Follow You, which feels like a much more sort of a stalky title, obviously. It feels like I'm a stalker, but I assure you I'm not. Yeah, here's one of those parts again, like the really sort of quiet, soft parts. That's just sort of a nice melody. Trying to do it with as much, conviction as possible. And to sort of relax in the fact that it is very quiet and it's supposed to be like, not too much happening. I think we did 2 takes on this song. And I remember Yuval wanted to, he's super chill about like takes and stuff, I feel, but he was more into his first solo, which was also really nice. But we lost the form. Not that anyone would notice, I think, but the solo is so nice. Super melodic and just beautiful phrases. And this solo goes into something completely different too. The next solo part is very different. But that's how many of our tunes go, I guess. They switch back and forth between quite different feels and vibes. But I love that. I love writing music like that. Like music that might surprise people, stuff that you never really know where it's, you know, where it's going. Because now you might think, okay, let's do something chill. But then comes this thing again. It's weird. We've had like weird, like it's been strangely problematic playing over this part because it's like it's something weird with the chords ending up on the first and the second beat of like every other bar. It just feels weird. Like 1, 2, 3. For some reason we always ended up like not feeling it at the same place. I guess it can sort of feel like a 4-1 as well. It could feel like 4, 1, 2, 3, but it's actually like 1, 2. And I think this is the only like sax like background as well for a solo on this album, and maybe all of our albums actually. The reason why it's called I Will Follow You Into the Dark is that like the sort of the soft melody that's before the guitar solo, it reminds me of a song that's featured in like the Scrubs series that I watched a lot back in the days. That's called I Will Follow You Into the Dark, I think. Another classic from William Sovik's Arranger's Tool Chest, playing one of the melodies over sort of a vamp, regardless of what key or what tonality it's in. Just like smush it together and it will do it many times and it will sort of work. Here's the crystallizer reverb working hard again. But when we recorded it, I sort of heard this thing in my head of this solo just like floating out in this super big spacey thing at the end. Again, for effect, because the previous part it's very dry, but then gradually going into this super wet sort of soundscapey environment. And I think it works well too because it makes it sort of cohesive with the rest of the album, because this kind of vibe comes back every now and then. in the end of some songs. Like the first song ends sort of like this too, and this one, and then actually the last song also ends with like a big sort of crystallizer swell. There it is. Not the whole album, but that song, I Will Follow You Into the Dark. We have a couple of songs. Yeah, right into the blues. This song is called Bluesen. Means the blues in English. And it's sort of a blues, I suppose. It feels sort of bluesy. And I know I said before that I don't really like playing sort of odd meters and weird like metric stuff. And I really don't. Like, again, most of the songs are not that, but I feel like it's sort of fun every now and then to get to play this kind of stuff. But it does feel like it's something completely different because I don't know, I never feel particularly free when playing stuff like this. I always feel sort of boxed in by the metrics. But it's fun every now and then. And I remember writing this song when I had a fever. I was sitting on the floor in front of the TV playing the guitar. And I was watching this movie about a guy that's sort of falls in love with like an octopus. I think it's a Netflix thing. I can't I know it's called Bläckfisken och jag in Swedish. I don't know the English name for it. But he has like a family and like he has little kids and a wife, but he spends all his time in the ocean filming this octopus that he's sort of become obsessed with. So he's doing that, and then he's whining about not being able to like see his family ever because he's always in the ocean with this octopus. I just thought it was such a weird thing, and also I had a fever, so for some reason this is what came out. Naming it the blues can feel sort of on the nose, I guess, with this track, because it's really almost like a pastiche on like a blues. But it's fun. It's fun to play it live too. It always sort of gets a lot of applause and stuff because it seems like people think that it's complicated, and people seem to be really into like music that is complicated. I don't know if we talked about having this sax solo sort of fall apart, but I think it just did, perhaps. Because at this point we've been keeping time for a while, and as I said, I don't necessarily really enjoy keeping time on the drums. Not in this kind of music anyway. So this happened. But we get back into the groove here in a while. We haven't had a lot of reviews on the album yet, but we did get one from our dear friend Jonas, who is also a writer and reviewer for Lyra Musikmagasin, for example. I think he wrote that this was his favorite song on the album, which is fun. Because I'm happy with the way it turned out, but I'm always sort of on the fence about these things because it doesn't really feel like, again, it's like super metric, and I don't know that it's like I don't know. It's just not really like my strength playing this kind of stuff. But I do like the way it turned out. It's sort of a fun song. I couldn't actually tell you what like meters. I think this is a 5.8 here. And I know this is a 6.8. And I think that's just a 4.4 thing. I don't know. I don't know. I think the sheet music for this looks really insane. But it's available if anyone want to try to play it. I can send you the sheet music if you send me an email. Trash can ending. All right. It's time for Golden Meadows now. This is usually our sort of encore whenever we get to play an encore. We usually play this tune because it's short and sweet and it's sort of just a melody. No solos or anything. Can be sort of a nice way to tie up all of the loose ends that you left everywhere. And it's called Golden Meadow. It's now sort of as tribute to two things. On one hand, Golden Meadow is the English name, I suppose, for the part of Gothenburg where I live. It's called Guldheden. Guldheden, it loosely translates to Golden Meadow. And then there's a band with one of my favorite drummers, composers, Dave King of the Bad Plus, amongst many other bands, and also the bass player Reed Anderson from the Bad Plus. They have a band together called Golden Valley is Now. And I think they've only made one record, but there's a song on there I think that sort of inspired me to write this one. Always the minor flat 5, minor 7 flat 5 thing at the end for me. So, inspired by Guldheden and Golden Valley is Now. And now we've come to the last song on the album. It's called Crookshank's Temptation. And as you can hear, it's sort of a glitch version. It has all these digital glitch things in it, which was not the idea from the beginning. But as I was mixing this track, because Gustav Davidsson mixed most of the other stuff, but I mixed this one myself, and my computer wasn't strong enough apparently to sort of withstand all of the plugins that I put on there. So when I did like a bounce on it, it came out like this, like super glitchy. But the weird thing is that it's sort of musical, I feel. And at this point I had heard this tune like 200 times, and I was super just sick of it. And when I got that glitch version, I thought like, wow, this sounds pretty cool. I'll just put that on there. I'll just keep it. Because it sort of alters the feeling of it. It feels like we're playing in like a quintuplet Subdivision. That kind of thing. And it's just weird. And I love the fact too that we talked about this because I think that my some of the people in the band didn't really like this, that I did like the glitch version. But I think it's fun that you can't really tell if it's supposed to be like this or not. I mean, if you've watched this or if you've heard me talk about the song, you know that this is the way it's supposed to be. But otherwise, you could also just think that it's like something happened when like printing the record. And the reason for the title Crookshank's Temptation is that this music is sort of inspired by the feel of the soundtrack from Shawshank Redemption, the movie. Yeah. But I didn't want to call it Shawshank Redemption, obviously, but I wanted to call it something that sort of sounded like Shawshank Redemption. And I realized that Crookshanks is Hermione's cat in the Harry Potter books. And it sort of sounds like Shawshank, so I just named it Crookshank's Temptation because it sounds like Shawshank Redemption. But I recommend you to listen to the soundtrack for the Shawshank movie. It's really cool. And it doesn't sound like as aggressive like as this, but it's sort of this territory harmonically at least. Yeah, and it's glitching more and more. There's also a crystallizer here, becoming more and more apparent. Because I wanted the end of this track to just be like drenched in reverb, that you wouldn't be able to hear like anything anymore. And then it just having it end in like a big bang. Everything's distorting. And glitching and breaking. Yeah, there you go. When I decided that I wanted to put this track on the album, I couldn't really put it anywhere else than like at the very end of the album. I don't know how you could like continue after this with some of the other tracks would just sound sort of super oh, here's something else. Just sound super yeah, super weird. So that's it. That's the whole album. I think it's like 1 hour and 1 minute, maybe, or something like this. And I've talked over a lot of it, so I recommend that you listen to it for reals if you want to hear what it is that I'm talking about. And yeah, that's the whole thing. I'm very happy with the way it turned out, and forever grateful for the wonderful musicians Joel, Malin, Victor, and Signe who's participating, of course, and also Gustav and Kim who has helped me with the production of this thing. Um, yeah, super happy about the way it turned out. William Solvik en final. Once more, dear friends. And it's available everywhere. Streaming online, and you can buy it on Bandcamp and also on our merch page here on Spotify if you want to. And there's actually also t-shirts. If you click on the merch page, the Spotify shop thing, there are t-shirts that you can buy as well. One sort of metal tee with the sort of logo that's on the front of the cover that turned out really cool. And then there's also like a vintage sort of sci-fi movie poster design that you can buy too, that I really like the look of. Anyway, that was the commentary track for this album. If anyone has lasted throughout this video, I tip my cap to you. And if not, well, then you won't see this and nothing matters. So I bid you all a good day, happy weekend, and take care. And I'll see you next time. Okay. Let's end it with the jingle, too, the new jingle, and then we're out. Okay. Goodbye.